You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, Sanbonani, Bonjour. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you are well this morning. And yes, Sem Trong on Twitter. I am back. Sem Trong says, "Hi Clement, hi Bo. You are back already and there wasn't a single breaking news item in the country. Your trips no longer bang the same." And I said to Sem, well, I was away for 5 days. I went on holiday for 5 days, and I normally take longer to be on holiday, but then then you guys complain by the second day when I'm away, so I decided to make it 5 days this time around. I even landed this morning. Can you believe it? I'm from the airport. I landed this morning and I came straight to work because that's how much I love my work. Let's kick off the show with the 702 open line, shall we? On 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Here's something else I really would love us to touch on the 702 open line. This impasse between the former Zambian president, the family of the late former Zambian President Edgar Lungu, and the Zambian government. The family has now filed an appeal to challenge the Pretoria High Court, like the order to repatriate his body to his country for burial. Remember last Friday, Judge Obrile Dwaba ruled that the Zambian government was entitled to repatriate the body of the late president, and he ordered that his family must immediately surrender that body to authorities. Well, yesterday, the family actually filed its papers to appeal that order, saying that the court erred in its findings and, in fact, ignored Lungu's wishes to be buried in South Africa. What an interesting case, eh? But also what a sad situation for the family that should be mourning. You know, now they're arguing in court that the Zambian government didn't take any interest in the late president's well-being after he was removed from office. So they don't want that government to suddenly now pretend like they cared for him because they didn't assist him even with his travels to South Africa for medical review. That's what the family claims. So the former president died in June, guys, and there's still a fight about where he should be buried. What do you think is at play here? What do you think would be a better compromise? Because I've spoken to both a minister in the Zambian government. He was on this show. Remember, we spoke to Minister Cornelius, I think it was his name, on the open line. I've also interviewed the family of the former President Lungu, on Face the Nation as well, and I asked them what the compromise would be. In fact, I should maybe play you some clips from those interviews, and it looks like they're not finding common ground. The family doesn't want President Hichilema to preside over the funeral. The Zambian government, they seem to suggest that if the former president receives a state funeral, then it wouldn't make sense for the president to step aside because heads of state that would be coming would be hosted by him as the head of state. So from what I've been able to pick up, the family seems to say, okay, fine, we can give you the body. We can come and bury the former Zambian president in Zambia, but that's provided that President Hichilema is not going to preside over the funeral. Because these two people didn't get along. I mean, also, you can't be pretending as if these people had a great relationship. They didn't. But where do we draw the line? Because the court seems to suggest that public interest trumps family interest. And there's been precedent that has been set here. And I wonder how you slice it up. What do you make of this impasse? And what do you think would be a compromise? Do you think it would make sense for the Zambian government to say, okay, you receive a state funeral, but the deputy president, for instance, is going to preside over the funeral? Or does that set a bad precedent? And I'm just thinking about our own local context here. God forbid, should we ever find ourselves in a situation where, let's say, a former president dies, right? God forbid, touch wood, eh? Let's say the former president, Jacob Zuma, is no more. And we know that he didn't like President Cyril Ramaphosa at all. We spoke about this last week. Was it last week when we spoke about what appears to be his obsession of the current president, or his hatred for the current president? What happens if the family of Jacob Zuma says, we don't want Cyril Ramaphosa at the funeral? So our government must now say, well, Jacob Zuma doesn't get a state funeral then, in that case. Huh? What would be the right approach? So I'm trying to figure out here, what would be the right common ground that doesn't compromise the government of Zambia, but also doesn't compromise the family of the former president of Zambia? Or are you arguing that once you've held a position like that, you cease to belong to a family? You belong to the people of Zambia in the context of Edgar Lungu. Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Joe, you're calling us from Joburg. Good morning.
Hi.
It's Sarah.
I think the South African court is wrong in that decision. You cannot prescribe the family. I mean, we had a similar situation in South Africa. PW Botha died, and then the state offered the state funeral, and then they
Said
declined.
no.
The family declined.
And we respected the wishes of the family. Our government respected.
I still don't understand how does he even try to make interpretation of a Zambian law in a South African court.
Here's a tricky part. Here's a tricky part, Joe. There was a case before when the former president, Kenneth Kaunda's family, wanted him to be buried in a private ceremony. And it was President Lungu then who took his family to court, Kenneth Kaunda's family to court, because President Lungu believed that the state's interest trumped that of Kaunda's. So in this case then, I mean, the government of Zambia says, well, you're the former president actually agreed with us on this one.
No, I agree. But you see, that was done in a Zambian jurisdiction.
Yes, true.
This one is a South African jurisdiction. What does our law say? You see, you cannot say the court was interpreting the Zambian laws in South African court. That's why I say our court was wrong.
Okay, so you think that the family stands a good chance here at appealing?
I should think so. I still don't understand it because it would be creating a serious and wrong precedent. Like you would find somebody who is exiled politically, and then when he dies, say not in the public interest. Bring him here. I doubt it. That I think the court there was wrong.
Okay, Joe in Joburg, thank you for your thoughts. Papla, you're in Easterust. What do you think? Hi.
Hi, Clement. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I agree with the family, Clement, because given the fact that Lungu lost all his presidential privileges just because he entered politics again, so which make him an ordinary citizen now. But remember, when Ahmed Kathrada died, he was a very respected stalwart. He explicitly said, I don't want President Jacob Zuma at my funeral. And out of respect, Zuma did not attend it. So I don't see why the courts ruled that they ruled. And I hope the family get a better ruling with the SCA so that his wishes, it's my last wishes, it's like having a will. My last wishes should be respected. I don't want him at my funeral.
Yeah, and I hear what you say about Ahmed Kathrada, but we're also talking about a former head of state. So
I understand, but listen, Ahmed was not the head of state, but he was so respected that if Zuma didn't attend, it would have been another, lot of issues. But because Ahmed was so respected that he was not the head of state, I agree with you. But yeah.
Let me ask this, Papla. If, God forbid, right, a former head of state passes away, whether it's Thabo Mbeki or it's, let's say, Kgalema Motlanthe or Jacob Zuma, and the family says, we don't want Cyril Ramaphosa to preside over rather Paul Mashatile, for instance, what do you think would be the right approach of our government here? Is it to say, let's take the family's wishes, right, because that's what matters right now? Or do you think government must take the approach of the Zambian government and say, no, President Zuma or President Mbeki, belonged to South Africans in a way, for lack of a better phrase, and therefore he deserves a state funeral that will be presided over by the state, the head of state.
Okay. Clement, it will always depend, according to me, on the relationship that the two have between them. Yeah. Because there was a great animosity between Lungu and the current president. So, yes. So, it doesn't make sense. Then the family's wishes supersede the wishes of the state. And I think as a president, just stand one side, You can have a memorial service where you can have something a few days before or after the funeral, but at the funeral, don't preside at the
Absolutely. Pablo, I agree with you, and I know there are other people who disagree with you and I. So let's hear what others have to say. I really, really, really think that, and I get where some of you are coming from when you say it's so petty for the family to now want to argue that, well, the president of Zambia didn't get along with the former head of state, therefore we don't want him at the funeral. But I also really think that the funeral, like, why are you making it about you? Now we're arguing about the presence of the head of state. What's wrong with President Hichilema saying, okay, I'm going to put the people of Zambia first. Let the funeral be held here. I will step aside because we didn't have a rosy relationship. And the family says this person didn't want me at their funeral. Why are you forcing yourself at someone else's funeral? Like, forget the law. Forget the precedent that's been set. Let's just be human beings now. Why are you forcing yourself? Like, can you imagine Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, saying, no, but I will go at that funeral of this former president, whether it's Thabo Mbeki or Jacob Zuma, God forbid, because the precedent has been set, or the law or legislation requires this. But the family says this person's wishes was that he doesn't want you there. Why can't you put yourself aside? And that's where I agree with Papla. And I know some of you disagree. Let me know your thoughts. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. So the family has been saying that this was the old man's wish. They say as the family, we want this for him. And that's what he wanted. He didn't want President Hichilema to be there. So why are we pretending as if these two people had a great relationship? But then there are protocols. Government says we have protocols that we must respect. And we've had a case where Kenneth Kaunda's family wanted him to be buried in a private ceremony. And the government at the time, under Edgar Lungu, said, no. State's interest, in fact, public interest, trumps the interests of the family of Kaunda. But we've had a separate case here with P.W. Botha when he died, didn't want a state funeral, and that wish was respected. Where do you find common ground here? So take a listen to Cornelius Moetwa, who is the Zambian Minister of Information and Media. This is what he told us when he came on this show a couple of weeks ago. If the benefits were revoked, why are you then offering a presidential funeral?
At this particular moment, we are talking about a former president who is not seeking an elective office, who is not in active politics. He is deceased and therefore is entitled, just like any other minister or former president, to a state funeral. And this is very precedented because 5 of Zambia's presidents that have passed on ahead of President Edgar Lungu, they've all been buried in the same way. There is a tradition. We have a presidential burial site. And you recall that Dr. Kaunda, the founding president of Zambia, when he died, his family, his children, they came up with a wish list. No, he said that he wants to be buried next to his wife at a farm in Chinsali in the northern province of Zambia. But the matter went into litigation and the court pronounced itself that in a matter of this nature, public interest overrides
Trump's family's interest. Yeah, Minister Cornelius Moetwa, so that was Cornelius Moetwa speaking to us a couple of weeks ago. I also spoke to Mabeki Zulu, who is a Lungu family representative. What are you willing to compromise on as the family? I mean, this is a difficult time for you as a family. The last thing you want is to be fighting with, especially a government that the former president has served for so long and was part of. What are you willing to compromise on to try and put this matter to bed so that there can be a dignified send-off for the former president?
To start with, the family is not fighting with the government family. Fighting the family because they have gotten the issue to be one of propaganda, one of PR, one to avoid embarrassment, and not looking at the interests of the family. Had they, right from the start, I would let you know that on the 6th of January, the president, or rather the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Haimbe, we had a discussion, and the first question was, are you giving this benefit or this particular national mourning or state funeral as something gratuitous or as attendant to his benefits? He says, well, attendant to his benefits. And the question was, we thought you took those away. We thought you cancelled them by your letter that was written to him in October of 2023. You said he was not entitled to everything that a former president is entitled to. You even went further to close the office of the sixth Republican president and redeployed his staff, took away the security, took away medical insurance, took away everything. What role are you playing in all this?
Yeah.
The response from the state was an imposition and not something that should have been negotiated with the family.
Where do you see this ending as a family? Are you just going to fight it over in court? Are you hoping for a resolution at some point?
You see, we're happy that the matter went to court because now the court will be dealing with the rights of the parties. What are the rights of the family? What are the rights of the state in this? Has the state demonstrated a clear cause of action, clear right that they can demand? If they're saying it is in national interest, President Edgar Lungu was not enjoying any taxpayers' money at the time of his death. He was not enjoying any benefits from the state. What then, or how then do we treat such a person? Even assuming that he was enjoying those benefits, what is the say of the family, the body?
So what does the family's word, how much weight does it carry, really is the question here. And by the way, President Lungu's presidential benefits being revoked, that's because he had decided he would contest the next elections. I think Zambian law stipulates that you forfeit your benefits upon re-entering politics. So that's what they argued, the Zambian government, in as far as justifying why the benefits had to fall off. Have you ever been in a situation like that? Because we talk about this as if this is too far-fetched. But have you ever had conflict in your family during a burial? I mean, we've seen this in the movies, we've seen this on Movango, on Generations, but these things actually do happen in real life. And maybe you can share your experience with us. How did you resolve that as a family? And what happens after the burial? Like, do we get along? Do we try to resolve it? Is it even possible to coexist with the same people that you fought about the body with? Have you ever had conflict during a burial, especially around who has the entitlement to that body or who is legally allowed to bury a particular person in your family? I want to try and make it real because these stories are real. We may be talking about a former president here. We may have seen these in the soapies, but there are families out there that have gone through almost something similar. Maybe it may have not reached the courts, but there has been conflict where burials had to be postponed because the matter had to be resolved first. What's your experience? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. We're also on YouTube as well. Go to the 702 YouTube page if you want to watch and listen to the show at the same time. I'll read your comments from there as well. It's 9:30.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with your calls and voice notes on the 702 open line. So I've been asking you about what's happening between the Zambian government and the former president Edgar Lungu's family. That's the late former president of Zambia, because there's still a big fight. Just yesterday, the family filed papers to appeal a court ruling, in fact, a court order, last Friday that indicated that the government of Zambia was entitled to repatriate the body of the late president. And in fact, that court ordered the family to immediately surrender the body to the authorities. So the family now says the court has erred in its findings and they ignored Lungu's wishes to be buried in South Africa. So family interests versus public interest or state's interest. What do you think is at play here? Given you are in Vlakfontein, have you been in a situation like this in your family? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and welcome back.
Sure, thank you, brother. Go ahead.
Yes, in 2013, Clement, my elder sister passed on. I was the first one in the family to be informed by my nephews and nieces. I went there. It seemed to be fine. It was on a Sunday. I can still remember. And then all of a sudden, later in the day, I was called and told that we're not supposed to participate in the funeral arrangements or whatever, that we're supposed to stay away. I told my elder brother and my other sisters and my brothers. Then I just gave up. Everybody in the family just waited. We did a wait and see game. Come the days before the burial, everybody went there. I didn't go because I was told we must stay away. When the body arrived at home, no family member was allowed to view the body.
What was the reason given?
I don't know. I'm coming with the story. I will cut it short. Then the following day, when my sister was buried, they were told that no family members from my sister's side were allowed to tell Umshabati in the grave. Only the children of my sister. I had stayed away. When my sister was buried, I was in a tavern somewhere in Protea. Then my sister phoned me and said, "Where are you?" I told her, "Hey, I'm enjoying my beers." All of them, they came and joined me. We had some beers. After that, come after 2 days, we got a WhatsApp message from my sister's older son. He said he had hired some hitmen because we had to do with the cause of my sister's death. But my sister had asthma. That's what the doctor said. We knew it's a family thing. Then I took the SMS to the police station. My nephew was arrested. He was taken to a police station and then I was called to court. The only problem that he got away with it is that the message didn't come direct to me. It came into my other's brother, but it had mentioned all our names. So the police wanted the original WhatsApp message. Then when we get to the police station, just out of compassionate, that feeling pity for him, we never laid any charges. They just took us to a family court and then we settled everything. We left. From 2013 until now, we've never spoken. My brothers have passed away. My sisters, none of my nephews have attended. Now the problem, Clement, is we've got children. These children, they've got to university, they meet up, now they want to be family. We are in a dilemma. We don't know what to do. My daughter is always saying, "But Baba, these are my brothers and sisters." Then I just say, "You do what is good to you." But I can't do it. You can be friends with them after I've passed away. Even now, even all our uncles, everyone has on to those children. They're still around.
Why did they do that? Were you guys getting along with your sister before she died?
My sister was the best. I was her favorite in my life. After when we went to the family court, he said what they asked him that these are your uncles, because they told him that one day you'll need these people. And there are rumors that they are looking around for us. They've got problems. Wherever they go, they just tell it. Because my sister called me last week and said, "Hey, those children," I just told her, that's a chapter which I closed in 2013.
Have they never asked for forgiveness?
No. We never speak.
Sure, given that's hectic. Oh, thank you for calling us and sharing your story with us. Yeah, it's so sad when relations in the family disintegrate like that. And now there's an added dilemma, as Given says, like there are children, like Given's children wants to be friends with the children of these nieces and nephews. I'm imagining, or the very same nieces and nephews who prevented them from coming to their sister's funeral. So now, what do? So Givens told his daughter that, no, you can be friends with these people when I'm no longer here. Yo, it's so tough. It's so tough. Like, have you been in that situation where your parents are fighting, but as children, you get along and you have to often hide that? I think many families have been through that, no? Or where there is some kind of conflict somewhere, but the children are just getting along and they choose not to be involved in that conflict. Yo, let's go to your WhatsApps.
Things are happening in real life. If you remember the story of HHP, the hip-hop artist who died, I think, a few years ago, his spouse wanted him to be buried here in Joburg, but his family, I think, took the body to Mafikeng. So these things are happening, but in my opinion, I think in this country sometimes we make easy things difficult. I mean, why can't we respect the rights of the deceased? If Lungu wanted to be buried in South Africa, why can't you allow his family to bury him here in South Africa?
Morning, Clem. I think the issue with the Zambian president, there's more at play here. If they don't want the Zambian government to have any say in the burial and everything, why can't they just say, I will bury him in Zambia, but please don't get involved. Don't get involved. We don't want the state involved. We'll just bury him as the Lungu family. I think there's just more at play here. Something is not making sense.
Morning, Clement. This is Nledisi here. I think on the Zambian Edgar Lungu issue, it's very sad to see, especially on someone that passed on in June. I mean, for me, I think the compromise will be for the government in Zambia to acknowledge what the family wants, but then the family also to compromise and bury him in Zambia, his homeland, than bury him in South Africa. I think in Africa what has happened is a lot of presidents use the death of politicians or former presidents as a propaganda tool. I mean, so if Hichilema didn't help in his health and that, I understand the family not wanting the Zambian government to have anything to do with it. But I think they both must compromise and lay the man to rest in Zambia, even if it's not a state funeral, but like lay him home in his home country. I mean, he was a president for that country. Thank you.
There's more to it. These people, they're just trying to run away from criminal prosecution. They've got cases there, so they're trying to use this, which is very sad. They should take that body, bury it in Zambia, honorably. Yeah, that's it. And face their consequences in court.
Good morning, Clement. That president of Zambia must step aside. He must not talk. Yes, must give a vice president or one of the ministers. Because now, if you want to talk, because they will not get along with the former president, that's not good. So he must step aside. Why you want to talk? Unless this family just bury the president here in South Africa once and for all. That's finished. Thanks, Clement.
Stephen, on the WhatsApp says, Clement, the family lawyers are just there for the money. I don't understand, because all these rules and laws were assented to by the very same guy who never went along with the current president. He refused the former President Kenneth Kaunda's family the wishes of burying him privately. What has changed now? That's a question there from Stephen. And yeah, Stephen, that's why I've asked that, when he was president, Kenneth Kaunda's family said that. They said, our wishes is for us to have a private funeral. And the government under President Edgar Lungu, my understanding is that then decided to go to court to challenge that. So the irony that now it's the family of Edgar Lungu who have to deal with the very same thing, except this time around, they are the ones that don't want the government to bury. In fact, the family says, no, it's not that we don't want the government to bury Edgar Lungu. We're happy to do that. But that's provided that the president of Zambia currently, Hichilema, is not going to preside over the burial. That's the wish. In fact, the family says, when they agreed initially that you can repatriate the body, the agreement was based on that specific condition. That if really this person comes, you repatriate the body, the President Hichilema can't preside over the burial. But then the government of Zambia says, no, that there's no way that's going to happen. If they repatriate the body, if this is a state funeral, then protocol dictates that the head of state must be the one that speaks, that delivers a eulogy. Because the head of state also is hosting other heads of state that are there at the funeral. It's quite a complicated one. Another one says, hi Clement, forfeiting his benefits does not erase the fact that he's a former president, and I believe that his benefits come to a fall at his death and are due. So it is the state's obligation to bury him. Another one says, hi Clement, I would like to remain anonymous. My grandfather lost his wife, my grandmother. She was buried, and my grandfather bought 2 graveyard plots. He then told his children, my mother, that when he passes on, please bury him next to his wife. Years later, my grandfather married another woman, my step-grandmother, and she was the meanest woman. She even made my grandfather love her kids more than his own. When my grandfather then passed away, my step-grandmother refused to honor his request and buried my grandfather at another graveyard, and we were not even invited or told where it was, and she claimed all his possessions, and my mother got nothing. You see, these things do happen. They do happen in other families. That's so sad. Like now you're not able to even bury your grandfather because there's a woman that he has married who, one, doesn't want to respect the wish that he had to be buried next to his wife at the time who had passed, but also, two, the wife is not even inviting you guys to the funeral. It's so difficult. Like, how do you coexist after something like that? A conflict like that? 12 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
9 minutes before 10 o'clock. Becky, you're calling us from Kibla Park. What do you think? Good morning.
Clement, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
You know what? It's important to respect the wishes of the dead. My father-in-law once told me a story that when his father passed on, my mother's father-in-law's brother, the deceased told him that, look, I don't want you in my funeral. And then the brother, because he was stubborn, I suppose, he went to the father's funeral. And God forbid, he then held the casket. Guess what happened? The casket fell on his foot. And when it fell on his foot, he hurt himself, and the family members reminded him to say, hey, Daddy told you not to come to the funeral, or if you do come to the funeral, you mustn't touch my casket. So at times, we take these things for granted and we say, you know what, the person was selfish or whatever. But the repercussions that come with it, I know someone from close to me told me that, hey, just respect the wishes. If you don't have to go, don't go. So we need to respect these wishes. It's not a funny or a minor thing.
Yeah.
That's my comment, Clement.
All right, Becky. Thank you for sharing that with us, Becky in Kibla Park. Let's go to Joburg now. Connie, good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So my take is that it's deeply disingenuous for the current Zambian government to now insist on a state funeral for former President Edgar Lungu, when in life, President Hichilema's administration constantly sidelined him. See, the two were not just political opponents, they were bitter rivals. There was no civil rivalry between them. It was such a hectic rivalry between the two of them. So even before Lungu attempted a political comeback, his movements were curtailed by the current government. He couldn't even run. He was a man who loved to exercise. He couldn't jog. He was restricted from jogging and even going to church. So even such basic personal liberties should have never been impeded, but they were. So by the time Lungu even grew critically ill and he sought to travel for medical treatment, he was denied this right. So the time that he actually traveled in May without formally informing the government, the airport officials who allowed him to board were actually dismissed. So when this man, made known his wishes to his family that, in the event of his death, the current president should not preside over his funeral, the family have echoed this wish and do not oppose burial in Zambia. They have only objected to HH's presence or oversight. So why can they not be allowed to bury in private? Or why can he not allow the funeral to go ahead in Zambia without him imposing himself? You cannot strip a man of honors in his, when he's alive, and then in death you want to afford him this honor. That's deeply disingenuous and actually politically motivated.
Yeah, and what do you say during your speech? Because then, people who know your relationship and what you've said about this person are going to look at you strange, like, Haibo, when did your thoughts change? Are you going to sit there and stand there and lie?
And for me, it's just hearing the current Zambian president saying, "Oh no, but what will people say? People will laugh at us if we allow the Lungu family to bury privately." This is not a matter of public perception. It's about respecting his final wishes. So I think sometimes that's what leadership is. It's putting aside your own wishes, your own ego, and allowing, for the greater good to prevail. Because the Zambian people should not be denied the right to mourn their former president.
Yeah. All right.
So HH should just step aside and allow the family to proceed.
Yeah. All right. Connie in Joburg, thank you so much for your call.
Hi, Clement. Ozia from Midrand. On the issue of the ex-Zambia president or the late Zambia president, not so long ago, just check on your records, the ex-Angolan president who died, there was almost a similar situation where the guy died in Spain and the family and the current president were not in good terms, and they went to court in Spain and the government won the case. So the president's body was taken to Angola, was buried in Angola by the government. And some of the daughters were excluded. So there is a precedent on this matter. Thank you. Great show. Bye.
Hello, Clement. I agree with you that the wishes of the family of the late president of Zambia, Lungu, should be respected. The argument about protocol does not hold water for me, because when you talk about protocol, he has a deputy, and usually you delegate responsibilities to your deputy. In this particular case, just to let peace reign, he could let his deputy represent him in hosting the heads of state who are coming there. What if the thing is fixed and he himself, Hichilema, falls sick and is not able to attend? God forbid. Wouldn't somebody represent him there? So it's just a matter of ego and power play. He should just concede and respect the wishes of the family. My name is Tony in Pretoria.
Hi, Clement. This is Sidwell Susumani. Clement, I think the wishes of the family have to be respected, because here they are fighting a battle that the late president has told them that, whatever happens with me, but I don't want this guy to officiate on my funeral. That should be respected. Thank you very much.
Hi, Clement. It's Vincent here in West Rand. But to me, it does not make sense. I think the family should be given a chance to do whatever they want to do with the body of their beloved father. and grandfather. Because remember, the Zambian government has taken away the benefits of from Edgar Lungu as a deputy president. So why would they want now to bury him if they have taken the benefits, all the benefits from him as a deputy president? So it doesn't make sense now to me.
Sure, Clement. Good to hear your voice. But yeah, I mean, Clement, with regards to this issue of Zambia, it just shows you how petty people can be. I mean, the anger beyond death. I mean, and I think for me, it's in the heart of why Africa is battling so much with wars and all this, because people cannot forgive. I mean, people cannot. Why don't you just allow this guy to preside over the thing, the funeral? I mean, it shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal indeed. So yeah, but this anger, this pettiness, and it's so not progressive. Yeah,
it's quite a tricky one. It really is quite a tricky one.